Birdie's here to help us with our setting up our paragraphs. Aren't you, birds? Aren't you, Birdie? Okay, folks, a big topic now. Topic of much debate, and it really defines us as a class of people, how we handle our widows and orphans within our documents. And I just want to, first of all, sort of define what a widow and an orphan is. And the first is widows. Now, there are two types of widows, and this is the first. This is a really bad widow. If you look at the line of text that we have, basically it's a line of text that doesn't go, and I usually look at about the quarter way point, so I'll visually divide my page in half and then half again. And a widow is something that doesn't stick out into about the quarter point of our column. Some people will say a third of the column. I'm going to say a quarter. So you can see this one is just approaching non-widowhood. And this one is definitely a widow. Okay, so we can see those within our texts. And in some cases, like this, where it says service to me, we can sometimes fix those by, putting a soft return in and, having it kick over a little bit. Okay, but that's the first type of widow. The second type of widow is a little different, and it will lead us into some other discussions about orphans. And the second type of widow is one line of type sitting at the bottom when it's within a paragraph. So you'll see that this line carries on to the next page. So this is also a widow. You'll also notice that there's a widow up above it as well. So what's so bad about widows? Well, really, when it's this type of widow, the problem is the amount of white space that it leaves. Okay, they leave these massive gaps in our copy. And when we're setting up a book or a longer text, they're a little bit more difficult to avoid because we have so much text and so many instances where a widow can occur. Okay, so when I'm setting up a book, these are the second ones that I'm concerned about. I'm most concerned about these ones because these ones, let me zoom in. Whoop. These ones can lead to something like this. And if we go up onto the next page, you'll see it's sitting there all by itself, alone. What is it? Yes, it's an orphan. And it's an orphan because it's sitting up at the top of a page, okay? So it's either one word, couple words, or one line that sits at the top of the page. So you'll see here, orphan, widow. And if I zoom out, you'll see we also have over here another orphan at the top of this column. So we are not doing well. We have an orphan and we have a widow and we have, sort of two possible widows going on here. Okay. Also, you'll notice that this sentence, this paragraph on its own is not considered a widow or an orphan. And that's because it just exists that way. It's a paragraph or a sentence that the author has written intentionally to be short and to the point. Okay, so we can't control that, but we can control things like, widows like this and orphans like this. Okay? And there's a couple of different ways we can do it. What I'm going to look at is eliminating the widows that happen here, okay, and the orphans that happen here. Okay, so what I want to do is get rid of my widows and orphans, and I want to do it quickly and easily. And it's good probably to go through your text and sort of identify how many you have. Sometimes you can get rid of them, pretty much on your own. One of the things that you can do, though, if you look at this text, we have one widow here at the bottom of this page. And we can do two different types of things. One is if I bring up my paragraph controls, and I can go to keep options, and you'll see it's option command K. And I have two different types of controls here. And the first is to keep our text with each of the previous lines. Okay, so basically we can keep paragraphs together by the last line and the line previous and previous to that. This is what I want to do, though. I want lines to keep together. I can either keep all lines together in the paragraph or keep two lines at the beginning of the paragraph together and two lines at the end. And you'll see that I can control this. I can put it up to 3 if I wish to, which is probably perfect typography, or I can keep it to 2, which is more acceptable typography. And you'll notice just by clicking this, that widow goes away at the bottom of the page. So if we click OK, let's have a look. So it eliminated that widow. And this isn't a widow because it's at the top of the page, this isn't an orphan because it's at the top of the page, but it goes more than halfway into the page itself. And you'll see that this also isn't an orphan because it's its own paragraph. And it's basically fixed all our problems for us. Okay? So by doing that in one fell swoop, just in that one area, it's fixed all our problems. Now the problem with that is I haven't, I would have to go in and do it at each separate area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into another paragraph here. I'm going to highlight all this stuff. Actually, I'm just going to check and make sure that we have one widow here. And we have only one widow. So we are doing pretty good. Let me find something here. So there's a widow there. This is okay as well. One of the things that I'm going to say to you is that you can actually build these. So there's an orphan here, there's a widow here. So maybe we'll do it with this text. Because of course it can have a knock-on effect, right? So if you get rid of this widow, you can actually cause another widow to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this text. And we're going to go in and we're going to get our keep options. And I'm going to put two lines together here. Okay. I'm going to click OK. Now you'll notice it's taken two lines away here. But if we go through the rest, you'll see that there's no widows or orphans. No widows or orphans there. None there. None here. And so this is the way my text box is set up. If I go Command B, you'll see that I've inset the spacing 9 picas from the bottom, or from the top. Okay? So we can do it all at once. And also, it is okay to have uneven lines on a page, as long as it's not more than like 3 of them, right? Okay? So again, it makes it for easier reading and easier viewing for the reader, which is what we're all about. And also, and we have a really wicked widow here, so what we can do is highlight this, and we can sort of adjust the tracking a little bit. So I usually do it as the minimum amount that I can. Whoop. So let's do -5, and that takes it up. Okay? And you'll notice that already it's sort of fixed some of our lines here. So fixing this widow has fixed a whole bunch of other stuff going through. Okay. And the great thing about that is we actually saved a page here, and I can go back in and set up my 9 picas at the beginning. Okay? Okay. So, there you go. No more widows or orphans. Kill them all.